Jeffrey's annoyed. Everyone has been telling him to meditate, but he tried once and it didn't even do anything. It didn't clear his mind of thoughts or help him to be more focused, and so he never meditated again. Adonis. Adonis understands common sense. He knew that he'd have to get consistent in meditation for the long term to see great benefits. And so he just kept showing up to his meditation practice for months, and it slowly started to change him. The biggest benefit of meditation is that it reduces the power of your lizard brain. I can't explain how profound that is. Your lizard brain is the cause of pretty much most of your problems. The reason why you keep playing video games, even though you've uninstalled League of Legends 15 times, the reason why you keep downloading it again, or the reason why you keep eating the junk food even though you're on a diet, or the reason why you keep clicking on the stepsister video on Pornhub, or the reason why you keep watching dumbass self-improvement videos on YouTube, is because of your lizard brain. Imagine reducing the power of that. Let's do something interesting. With my click of my fingers, you've instantly just gotten 6 months of meditation experience. What would life look for you right now? You would still think as much. This is what confuses most people. When they think about consistently meditating, they think that they would think less. That's not how it works. Meditation does not reduce your thinking. It increases how much you notice those thoughts and how much you're able to view those thoughts more like a meta-analysis rather than being the thought. Before I clicked this finger, before I instantly just gave you 6 months of meditation experience, you would feel anger. Let's say you got an email that you have an overdue bill that's quite expensive and it's really pissing you off because you've just wasted money. Previously, before the click of the fingers or before the 6 months of meditation that I've just blessed you with, you would have felt anger because of this email. And so you would have been angry. You would have been an angry guy. You would have indulged in anger because you felt anger, so you are angry. With the meditation experience, you would feel anger, and that's it. You would feel the emotion of anger, but not be angry. That's because with consistent meditation experience, you start to disassociate away from your feelings and thoughts. And instead of viewing them as who you are, you just view them as something that arises in your senses, your consciousness. And that's exactly how it works for the lizard brain too. The lizard brain is the amygdala. It's an old part of our brain, the part of our brain that kept us alive and gave us the fight or flight response. The modern days messed it up because software developers are making apps that trigger the amygdala and make you feel like you might have been banished from the tribe if you don't get enough likes on Instagram. Or the big food companies have made food to make sure it triggers that anxiety response inside of you and you try and eat as much as possible because it feels so comforting and so safe. The modern world has messed it up, and it is your responsibility to your future self to strengthen the prefrontal cortex and to weaken the amygdala because it's too overactive right now. The issue is that you won't exactly know when the amygdala, the lizard brain, is talking. It will think in the same voice as you do. And this is where it gets so weird, because you will sit there and say, I'm on a diet, I'm going to eat healthy. 10 minutes later, you're going to hear the same voice inside of your head. It's still going to be you. It's still going to be your voice. It's still going to sound completely logical and reasonable. But you're going to hear the voice saying, yeah, like we are on a diet, but just eat the junk food and then we'll just eat less tomorrow. And you're going to be going on a run anyway. And so if you just eat it, because what are you going to do? You're just going to throw it out and it'll be a waste of money. Just eat it and then tomorrow you can move a little bit more. And so you eat it. And the moment after you're done eating it, you're like, hang on a minute. I'm on a diet. Why did I just eat that? Or the same with nofap. Oh, just jack off just once, just this one time, just do it because there's that one study that showed the testosterone actually dipped after like 7 days anyway, so you may as well just jack off now and then we'll just restart and then we'll keep going anyway. You fap, you reset your counts, you're like, hang on a minute, why the did I do that? Lizard brain. All of your solo problems in your self-improvements is caused by your lizard brain, the amygdala. Meditation reduces the size of your amygdala. Like imagine the amygdala is literally a part of your brain. It's like this big, right? Meditation reduces the size of it. That means that you're just going to have less activity there. You'll still be able to hear the lizard brain. It'll just be less. And when you do hear it, when you do hear the craving or the impulse, you'll then be able to look at it with that higher mental clarity because you now don't associate with your thoughts. And so before your meditation practice, before I clicked my fingers and gave you 6 months of meditation experience, you would have felt the craving for chocolate. So you would have been someone who's craving chocolate, and so you would have ate the chocolate. Now, with the 6 months of meditation experience, you would have felt the craving of chocolate, found it interesting that this is what a craving feels like. Like you're starting to salivate, you're starting to like see pictures of the food that you want to eat. Your fingers start to get tingly, and you're more focused on being interested in what a craving feels like than actually thinking that, okay, I'm craving chocolate, so I must eat chocolate. You learn to just sit with a feeling instead of thinking that that feeling must guide you towards action. What's the most important sentence I've ever wrote down in my life or I've ever said in my life before? Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. The only way that you can do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, is if you meditate. And it gets much, much easier to do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, if you've had consistent meditation practice. I've said this a few times, you will not be able to get consistent in any of the good habits if you only do them when you feel like it. Meditation helps you to disassociate from those feelings and just act on your good values instead of thinking that what you feel is what you are. There's far more benefits to meditation. One of them, which I really find interesting, is that you will feel a better mind-muscle connection when you're working out, and that means you're going to make more muscle. Because what is a mind-muscle connection if not for mindfulness of the muscle? That's literally exactly what it's called. It's mind-muscle connection. The more you meditate, the more you'll be able to feel the exact muscle that you want to grow. And there is research, don't tell me to cite it, but there is research that the better mind-muscle connection you have to the target muscle, the more it will grow. Your diet will get so much better. How many times have I mentioned that when you do meditate, your cravings are less and you just eat healthier foods because you start to mindfully eat. Mindless eating is the cause of your unhealthy weight and your high body fat percentage. Yes, it's influenced by the modern companies who are making food that's unhealthy for us, and it's influenced by our abnormal Western diets. But the reason why these affect us is because we mindlessly eat that food. Because we've actually chose to couple eating with watching. Like that's become like so ordinary. We eat whilst we watch. That's mindless. Relationships especially get better with consistent meditation. So I'd like to tell you about my experience in terms of relationships. For all of my life, I've been a big overthinker. I've pretty much always had anxiety, and in terms of relationships, in terms of like seriously dating a girl, I'd always overthink, and presence is not something that I had. It's not, you wouldn't describe me, like the younger me, as a guy who was present when he spoke to you. Like I'd slip into daydreaming. I didn't even think that it was like noticeable for people. So my ex-girlfriend, for example, would be speaking to me and, she's mid-sentence and I'm literally like thinking about stuff. What I've noticed now after consistently meditating for longer than 1 year is that people can tell. And if there's one thing that you could give to someone you love, it's presence and just active listening. And active listening is fueled by presence. I can see the effect it has on people now because I'm becoming so much more mindful of it. I'll try and explain it to you in like a few different scenarios of exactly how it happened. But there was one time when I was in a daydreaming mode. I still get into daydreams, by the way. I'm not completely cured. I'm lying with my girlfriend. This is just recently. I'm lying with my girlfriend. It's like a sunny day. We're just lying down on the grass, like next to some like trees or something. And I slip into daydreaming and I start like playing around with like the branch above my head. And I'm thinking about something, maybe YouTube or whatever it was. And obviously I know that she's next to me, but it's like right now my mind is elsewhere. And I could just see her kind of like looking at me while speaking out of the corner of my eye. I remember my meditation practice, I come back to the present moment, like look towards her. And the moment that she could tell that I was present, it was like I saw her physically get comfortable. Like she wasn't able to exactly tell I was daydreaming, even though it was obvious. It wasn't in her mind to think, like, oh my God, he's not present. It's just something that we pick up on. We know if the person we're speaking to is deep in thought and if they actually want to speak to us or not. And for those few seconds, I probably didn't want to like speak to her Not in like a horrible way, but you know, for those few seconds, whatever, like my mind just suddenly went like a daydream. Clearly, my mind thought it was more important to be in a daydream than to like be with her in that present moment. And the moment that I like fully looked at her, like put my hands on her and actually looked at her, I saw her like nestle into me more and like get so comfortable and smile just a little bit more. I've noticed this when I speak to people, especially older people who just love telling like stories. I speak to my mum, or I speak to even my girlfriend's mum, and they're just talking and talking, and I'm asking them questions. It's like I realize how much people appreciate someone who is an active, present listener, because the overwhelming majority of people need to speak, and not many people want to listen. I find that you'll only want to listen if you're not going to be daydreaming whilst you listen. Most people don't even know that listening is a skill that they could level up. And so most people think that listening is just not talking up until it's your turn to talk. And you spoke to people like this all the time. Perhaps you've spoke to people like this today. Perhaps your entire family's like this. Perhaps every single one of your friends are like this. And this is why you have a sense of loneliness, even though you have people around you. Because those conversations are not fulfilling. Those conversations, they're better than nothing, and you still feel somewhat social, but those conversations are so basic that you get no social intrinsic value from them. But you can remember sometimes that you've had some fantastic conversations. And I promise you that those were the times that the person you were speaking to was mindful. They weren't just waiting to say their sentence, and you know, whilst you were speaking, they weren't just like thinking about what they were going to say and ready to say it the moment that you were done talking. They were listening to you, every word of you. And I found that such a powerful experience, is such a powerful skill, and it's a fantastic gift to give to people. And meditation, at least for me, has enabled me to do that. I want to say this again in cases younger Hamza's watching this, or someone equivalent to younger Hamza's watching this. People can tell when you're daydreaming. People can tell when you're overthinking. If you are a daydreamer, if you are a guy who overthinks quite often, people can tell, and they don't want to speak to you because of that. Because don't let your ego get hurt. You are trash at conversations. You're probably good at talking. You probably think you're really good at talking, and you can talk forever and everyone seems interested in you. The moment your turn to talk is over, you're not listening. You're just waiting for your turn to talk again. And you zone out when other people are talking. One, because of a lack of mindfulness, because you go on the internet too much and you don't meditate enough. But two, also because you just haven't leveled up that listening skill, which is heavily fueled by mindfulness. People can tell. And this is why you found that sometimes you had like a good conversation with someone, and you opened up a lot and everything, and it seemed like they didn't it seemed like they liked you, but then just out of nowhere they just didn't contact you again, they didn't speak to you again. It's because they actually didn't like the conversation with you, because you weren't actively listening and present when they were speaking. People can tell. The more that you meditate, the more that you'll get into a flow state. Now, flow state is a period, perhaps minutes, even sometimes hours, where you're doing something that feels somewhat intense, where it's your one focus and you have zero thoughts in your mind. When I speak, I'm in a flow state. I'm in a flow state right now. There's zero thoughts in my mind. I've known this for like a while now, that if I'm speaking and if I'm teaching something like this, like I'm teaching the benefits of consistent meditation, I get into a flow state. When I'm speaking to someone, I get into a flow state. When I'm on my coaching calls, I generally get into a flow state. It gets harder to stay in one when you're not the one talking, when you're the one listening. But meditation, again, will help you with that. It'll help you get into the flow state with that. Now, the flow state is very good because that is where the insecurities die. That's where your lack of productivity dies. That's where you become that charismatic version of yourself. Remember the time that you were in that social experience and like it actually seemed like you were doing really good and everyone seemed to like you and you were on the ball with things. You were in a flow state. If you'd like to tap into that power again, consistent meditation will help you with that. So now we're going to go through some practical advice that you can start doing right now to improve your meditation practice, to get into it more consistently. Just before I do that, I just told you my experience. I told you the type of person I am. If you feel like you could learn quite a lot from me, you'd benefit from my experiences, and you vibe with the way that I talk and the way that I say things, I suggest you scroll down right now, just click on the subscribe button, the post notification button, and then you'll get a message for my next videos to be uploaded. Let's begin with the practical advice. Number one is to invest as much time as possible into meditation. I know that seems really basic, but let's dive into it. The reason why I say invest as much time as possible is because meditation doesn't seem to be affected by diminishing returns. Here's a little graph of what diminishing returns looks like. Sammy, sort me out, please. Diminishing returns is seen in pretty much everything you do, where at first you get like an instant boost to any kind of results that you wanted, and after that it starts to like diminish. It starts to still require quite a lot of effort, but the result starts to go down. The best way to describe this is with noob gains in the gym, where at first you make like quite a lot of progress, quite a lot of muscle in the short amount of time, but after that you still have to keep doing more and more and more. You have to increase the volume, but the amount of muscle you gain starts to level off. That's diminishing returns. Meditation doesn't seem to be affected by it. And in fact, meditation seems to be one of the very few habits that compounds instead of diminishes. And that's powerful. There was a comment that I read a couple of years ago before I even got into consistent meditation. And this Redditor, I think it was, said that 30 minutes of meditation will give you 30 points. 67 minutes of meditation will give you 67 points. They were showing that how long you meditate gives you a linear benefit. Although I think that's true, I think meditation actually does it one step further, where the more you meditate, the more benefit you get, like compounded. So 30 minutes of meditation is kind of like 33 mindfulness points, and the extra 10% that you get is because the 30 minutes of meditation today makes it that you're more likely to do 30 minutes tomorrow, like you're building up the habit. And also because meditation is the formal practice, it's like the workout. Throughout the day, you can also practice and benefit from meditation in a way that still keeps improving your levels of mindfulness, like the benefits that you'll get from meditation. So you'll formally practice, when you close your eyes, you use the app, you're going to formally practice for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. But the more that you formally practice, the more that you'll be able to meditate throughout the day. So 30 minutes of meditation practice kind of gives you 33 points. I hope that makes sense. Obviously, it's not exactly scientific, but because of this, more is better. Just make sure that more meditation does not equal less quality practice. Make sure that you don't just suddenly go up to like 1 hour meditation and spend most of the session just daydreaming and just be chilling out. Instead, slightly increase it, maybe start to do 2 sessions a day of 5 minutes and go from there. Another bit of practical advice is to start to mindfully eat. Remember, I just said that you can essentially do a formal meditation practice, eyes closed using the app, but you can also meditate throughout your day. Every activity that you do throughout the day could be a form of meditation as long as you just keep bringing the focus back to one of your senses. Usually in the formal meditation, we'll use the sense of breath, just the feeling of breath, but you don't have to stay like that. So for example, choose one meal per day, every day, choose one meal, let's say breakfast, that you're going to eat mindfully. No distractions, no TV, no computer, no YouTube. You're literally just going to sit there with the plate of food and eat it with no distractions, looking at the food. Every bite that you're about to take, you're going to like look at it on the fork, you're going to smell it, put it into your mouth, you're going to like really feel the texture and like move it around your tongue and everything. Mindful eating is the practice that actually showed me how often my mind wanders. And if you want to be a little bit scared of that, I suggest you just give it a go. Because I found that I was able to really pick up on how often I started getting into deep thoughts so much more when I actually had like something to actually do instead of just the breath. And so if you want to give it a try, choose one meal, perhaps the same meal every single day, and just look into mindful eating. That's a whole separate video, but essentially mindful eating is just eating with no distractions and trying to like invoke all the senses as much as possible. In terms of the mindset to start practicing consistently, I made a video titled How to Start Meditating, and this one I go into the mindset of how to start practicing consistently. If you'd like to watch that video, just click on the little thing that's popped up right now. In short, just view it as practice sessions like a basketball player would. The basketball player who shows up to practice is making infinite more progress than the basketball player who refuses to go to practice because he doesn't understand 100% of what he's supposed to do. Too often I'll speak to people who say, oh no, I don't meditate because I just don't really understand. No, you don't understand before you start, you understand as you go along. Just keep showing up to practice. And what that means in a very literal sense is keep sitting down where you'd meditate, open up the meditation app, click on any of them and just keep listening to one every single day. Do a little bit of meditation every single day for the rest of your life. I invite you now to take action. This video is about to end. If you'd like to make some progress, open up one of the meditation apps, hit 5 minutes right now. and you'll be building up a little bit of a habit of not only meditating, but also to take action immediately after watching one of my videos. And that would be a pretty special YouTuber relationship that we'll have going on. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. I'm done, cuz.